This is the Jeskidding Podcast, where sometimes I say things and I was like, I was just kidding. And then other times I say things and the light bulb goes off over your head and then it goes, just kidding, because I said something somewhat smart as the pigeon down there rolls her eyes. I don't like where this is going. I feel like I'm being censored by your eye roll. Your eye roll communicated to me that I should not have said it in the way I did.
It wasn't an eye roll. It was my brain picturing my light bulb above my head when you say that.
Okay, much better, because I'm easily censored by other people's judging me, apparently. So the topic this week is censorship. Censorship is a dangerous word. It's a little bit of a serious topic, but we're going to treat it lightly because that's the way we roll. Right, Austin? Austin's on the top. How are you, Austin?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going
good to
good.
be back.
It's good. I'm glad to have you here, bro. Always a pleasure. A pleasure. And Pigeon, how are you? Welcome to the podcast, officially on camera, as the co-host's co-host.
Yes, I'm doing good.
Yay.
I'm ready for this.
She's ready for this. Okay. We're going to talk about censorship because it's a topic that I think about a lot. And why do I think about it? And why is it bad for me to talk about it? Well, right now, everything's political. Everything in America, in the world, is all politics, and then all people talk about is politics, which is kind of maddening. But the problem is that if you speak out of line from the thing that you believe in, the political party you believe in, people automatically assume that you must support the other guy. It's very sort of black and white thinking. And where I'm going with this is, right now, Donald Trump gave a big speech in front of Mount Rushmore about cancel culture, and they're trying to censor everything we're doing. And he's very much against Twitter censoring him and any censorship at all. Now, in his case, in my opinion, and forgive me, I don't mean to insult you if you're out there. Everybody knows how I feel about the guy. I think he's garbage. That's me. That doesn't mean I hate you. It just means I think he's garbage. But with that said, some of what he's saying, I actually agree with. Now, mind you, I can't stand him. I can't stand his politics. I don't want him to be president. It's awful. But some of what he's talking about with censorship, I know he's only probably talking about it because it affects him, but there's legitimacy to it. And we're currently in culture being restricted from having conversation. And some people could say it's because we're being too sensitive, but other people could say it's because people are trying to control other people's what they think. What do you think, Austin? Do you think that people are controlling or trying to control language?
I guess it depends on who it is and what their agenda is, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say that it doesn't happen.
Well, in cases where it does happen, where like somebody says something inappropriate and all of a sudden there's a ton of pressure and what they're doing gets canceled. Why is that bad or good?
I think that, gosh, I would hesitate to say any censorship would really be good because, you know, whatever somebody's opinions or thoughts are just needs to be put out there candid, and it's either right or wrong or.
So you feel that all things should be allowed to have a presence in the world of, say, social media. That's your opinion. I'm not judging. I'm asking you.
Well, I mean, in this country, everybody's free to say what they want.
Right, but they're
have the stance.
They always the counter to that is you're free to have an opinion, but you're not free of consequences from that opinion. That's the kind of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, if you're going to say something, especially political, where feelings are hurt very easily,
right?
You're going to have to be willing to accept whatever, you know, negative effects that are going to come from that.
Right. Okay. What about, we'll go to you, Pigeon. What about hate speech? Should hate speech be censored?
Absolutely. To a point.
Okay.
I believe to a point. Like, censorship is good when it comes to things that could be dangerous for like youth to be learning. Like, pre-learned habits are usually found on the most popular thing going on, like trending things. Like, since like you said, I don't hate people who support him, but since Trump has come into office and he's been so open about his racism and his ideals, racism in our country has increased tenfold because that's not being censored. What he's saying about, you know, Mexicans or China or how it's the Kung flu, people are literally
Oh,
hating
it has an effect. I agree with you 1,000,000%. And I think in his case, a little different. He's the president. And we have a comment in the chat room about this. I'll get to it in a second. He's the president of the United States. So what he says has much more impact than me, Austin, or Pigeon here. It's just fact, because people he has a megaphone that the rest of the world doesn't have. And with that megaphone comes a certain sense of responsibility. And hate speech, this is my opinion. My view on this, I'm going to put my view out there really straight. My view is, I'm not a big proponent of censorship. I'm just not. But if you are definitely 100% violating the terms of service of the platform that you're using in a very clear way, well, then you should be definitely punished for that. If you are inciting acts of violence in a very clear way, well, then you need to be checked for that. If you are actually factually misleading people intentionally and you are in a position of great power, having a fact check next to that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when they start carpet bombing everything with that methodology according to whatever today's narrative is. And I'm not putting down what the narratives are now. The narratives are, Black Lives Matter, and there's a lot. There's a lot of narratives that are very important. But once you start telling people that they can't communicate, or you start using these social media platforms to make those moral decisions for you, you lose the ability to do what we're doing right now, which is have conversation. So those people who may have opposing views than me, if you shut them up because those views come across as hateful, right? I'll give you for instance. What if somebody, and I want your opinion, and then I'm not here to judge either one of you. Do you think that people should be able to say all lives matter on Facebook or anywhere else?
Sure.
Austin, what do you think?
I just really hate to even, because it's not about all of us. The problem in this world right now isn't about everyone's lives. It's about a certain group of people that have been treated a certain way.
I don't disagree with you, right? But without diving into that really, what I'm asking you is, should people who don't want to take your point of view on that be able to say all lives matter when they want to?
Sure, if they want to say it, but they have to be willing to accept the consequences for the things that they say.
Right, and I'm with you. Who should hand out those consequences?
That I wouldn't know. I mean, I guess just people in general would have to dish out that consequence. I mean, it's just like, just regards to the president, I think sometimes the guy doesn't really get that, he is in a position that commands a lot of respect and authority. And if he is to act a certain way or endorse a certain type of behavior, he's going to cause people that, are sort of diehard for the guy to share the same opinion and do the same things.
I want to go quick to the chat room. Magnificent said, if BLM was BLMT, Black Lives Matter 2, their argument would be unassailable. I agree, and I saw that on Facebook today. And I really think that I was going to make a movie poster and a preview. I thought about doing a video preview. This is a side topic for Black Lives Matter 2 with the giant word 2, to make it really clear what that meaning is. In 2016, we had the first version. And now, because it wasn't clear, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you Black Lives Matter 2 as well.
Yeah, which
dumb
is
fucks.
Completely ridiculous, because that's just it's an after. Yeah, sure, you can come too.
Right.
I guess.
Well, no, but it's more inclusive. Anyway, but back to what I'm talking about. So what I'm getting at, and Boa, let me know if you wanted to come on the podcast. What I'm getting at is, and where this all came from is, as an artist, right? You see where this can go, because artists are the first one to speak out of line, to challenge the mainstream thinking, to explore new insights, right? And maybe even to take unpopular positions, right? And I'm not talking about politically. I'm talking about just socially even, and through the work itself, to maybe see maybe make a show told through the eyes of a serial killer, Now, that's obviously Hannibal, and it's been made, right? But imagine this was 50 years ago. And people said, we're going to give you a show, and the show is starring the bad guy. People's fucking heads would explode. And they'd say, no, you can't do that. And then some artist breaks the mold and does it, and it's interesting, and people learn from it, or it becomes a point of conversation. And that thing is a spark for that, for us to converse. What happens with censorship that scares me, I'm terrified of it, is a moral movement comes along. And Black Lives Matter is a great movement, a necessary movement. Its time is now. But a moral movement of that kind or another kind come along, a sensitivity goes way up at that particular moment. And then they start telling people, first they start telling them, you can't say this, you can't say that word, you can't act this way. And then it goes a step further. And the next step is the actual platforms themselves say, you can't say this, you can't do that. And we're going to enforce that. And I've been terrified of this for a while because it's the same sort of like Puritan values that exist on the right, and I'm a liberal guy, also exist on the left. I mean, it's kind of like somebody using a derogatory word now, like transvestite. And it's like, oh my God, you said a word. Does that make me a criminal? Should I be banned from a platform for using a word that's no longer proper? I don't use that word. I'm using it as an example. Or I try not to. Sometimes I don't even know what word is switched. But as an artist, could I put that in a screenplay? What do you think? Broken. Pigeon. Just broken.
I think the difference, like as I was trying to say earlier, there's the extremes that need to be censored, like hardcore, just like straight hate speech, like these people need to die or be murdered, that kind of stuff. But what you're saying, what was the question again? I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
No, okay, I remember.
Okay, sorry. Let's get the big screen.
When it comes to that stuff, people can be educated. That's why we need to see like their first opinions, what's going to come out of their minds first, because when you see that stuff and other people who are already educated about it can tell you, hey, transvestite's not exactly the friendliest word for trans people nowadays. Maybe we could use something different. Just like all lives matter. If someone doesn't agree with that, and you can teach someone why that has racist backgrounds, why that doesn't exactly scream like I'm okay with black people, that's right. Why I have to say all lives matter instead of Black Lives Matter.
But what if somebody either doesn't want to learn, right, or can't learn, or just hasn't caught up to speed? Should that person have their microphone taken away? That's the tricky part. And your facial reaction, I'm not accusing you. Hear me out. You are part of a new, you're younger than me by a lot, unfortunately for me, because I'll be dead way before you, which is terrible. It's a universe, but it's okay. It's okay. You'll improve upon whatever formula I put out there. It's a formula no baby should drink. So what I was saying, I'm just stringing words together, please. I'm just kidding. No light bulb. Okay. Austin, it's a little closer to the computer. I feel like your head is disappearing into your closet. Please come a little forward, my dude. Austin, I'm speaking to you. Thank you. We need to see your beautiful face. Okay. So, and I lost my train of thought when I started to talk about baby formula.
Baby formula.
Okay. So your face was indicating to me a little bit of not disgust or anger, but maybe frustration. Maybe it's not the right word.
Hesitation. Because like certain people should be censored, in my opinion, just because depending on where they're coming from or what their reasoning behind why they think these things are. So if it's unteachable, then like why let that continue to be a voice, though?
I'll tell you why. This is my opinion, right? And I think that you have a very you have a more popular viewpoint on this, and it is the viewpoint of change, and at this moment in time, it is the correct viewpoint. So in that way, I utterly agree with you. I think your heart is in the right place. I think that your cause is in the right place. But I think that the result takes you to a place that you won't like. And what I mean by that is, I feel that once you start censoring people because they don't want to change based on a morality that's current, that's a shifting needle. That will then move to something else, which will then require re-education to that next thing, and then re-education to that next thing. And then you start filtering those things based on words because the morality shifts. I mean, as 10 years ago was not like 10 years before that, and it was not like 10 years before that. So what I mean, you could take black people and the 17 versions of the names that have been changed to be more fitting. Now, should somebody who uses the word, I don't even want to say any of the words, right? But even though none of them are officially on the list of Twitch, I'm worried of censorship even by having conversation as an artist. That's what I'm doing here today. And I'm afraid of being censored. I can't even talk about it because I'm afraid that the platform itself will yank my ability to communicate because of the shifting morality. And in your lifetime, that morality will shift many times, even the things you don't agree with in some cases. And at some point,
definitely.
something can come along that's a bad morality. And then, you know where that goes? That goes to book burning and paintings being destroyed, because they didn't agree with the time. Or, some could say statues being torn down. Now, I agree with some of these statues coming down because of what they represent. That's my personal opinion. I agree with some of these people. Why are you celebrating the losing side? Whatever. I agree with that. But I'm scared how far it goes because it goes from there to not having a conversation at all. I'm going to go to the chat room for a second. Boa said censorship limits the conversation. So the second somebody feels like they can't say something, and we're just saying a word now, Pigeon, like we're just talking about we just use it as an example because we agree on 99% of things, all three of us. I'm not going against you. I'm just walking it down the line of where it goes, and I see it coming, and it's scary. It's scary when the religious right says Marilyn Manson can't get on that stage, and it's scary when somebody puts a video on YouTube, and this happened to me the other day, you know this, I talked about this, I'll talk about it again, and has my video removed. Now, I've been talking about this for a while before my video was removed. Now, I made a video called Scamdemic that was making fun of Plandemic, which was trying to convince people that COVID isn't real and Dr. Fauci is the devil and whatever these things. It was a bunch of strung together idiotic thoughts that were being shared so that people can reinforce their point of view that this thing wasn't as dangerous as it actually is. That's COVID. And YouTube took it down, censored it. And it had like 20 million views, and they took it down because they saw it as dangerous misinformation. Okay. But now they've taken down my video. Somebody must have reported it, probably a person who believes that the virus isn't real, or multiple people. And it sent me an email and said, YouTube has reviewed your video, and it has violated our terms of service. It's a comedy parody video. It says parody in the title. So my point that I'm making is censorship, once you start limiting conversation, it's a slippery road to having the movie that you used to like removed from the theater. Not being able to post on social media because you weren't educated to the new moral norm. And that's not good for anybody. It's also not good for conversation. We wouldn't even be able to have this talk. Imagine they started censoring people talking about censorship. I'm not joking. In Hong Kong, I believe, I could be wrong right now, they passed a law from China, which was supposed to have autonomy over Hong Kong. I could be wrong, like I said, that you're no longer allowed to have signs that criticize the Chinese government in Hong Kong, even though Hong Kong has its own system. So people are holding up blank signs. That's where this goes. And I agree with you that some people should be chastised. I agree with you that their behavior should be countered, but I really feel that once the platforms themselves say no more to these people, like they kicked out Alex Jones, they kicked out this person. I mean, they probably were directly violating some terms of service. And so I get it when it's an actual direct violation, like you're inciting violence. I'm surprised Donald Trump lasted so long on Twitter. I really am. Because he actually has incited violence on Twitter. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. That would have been me. I would have been fucking pack my bags for fucking WYSIWYU with the new Twitter. Whatever the fuck it was called. But this time you get 141 characters or less. I don't know. So, how do you feel about anything I said? Austin, it's a lot. It's a mouthful. But what do you think? Austin, what do you think?
Well, I think it's sort of like a hard question to answer. Like, I think censorship to a degree is going to be a major problem. Like, I was thinking of China as well while you were talking about it, how, the government, made this new law where you can't actually say anything bad about the government. I don't know. I really just think like the whole thing that's going on in the world today is just so complicated and so sensitive. It's hard to even know what to say. Like I just my stance on the whole thing is just like humanity, dude. Like I care about all people, no matter where you come from or what your race is or anything like that. I think what's going on in the world today is sad and it sucks. And I don't know. I really don't even know what to say about it because I hate getting into discussions about politics, to be honest.
Well, you came to the wrong fucking podcast, asshole. Jesus Christ.
Well, that's what I was telling you beforehand. I was like, I just feel like politics is just such like, I don't know. It's really easy to say the wrong thing.
What? So, okay. So let's go with that, right? Because I'm not talking about politics.
Yeah, but the whole issue is somewhat political.
Well, it's not though. Censorship, in my eyes, is dangerous. And whether it comes from this political party, that political party, the church, the Bible, the some moral code you live in, because without censorship, we can't have this conversation. With censorship, we can't have this conversation. And it's not just about the government doing it either. Most censorship right now is potentially coming from major corporations. Twitch is censoring people. YouTube is censoring people. Facebook is censoring people. Now, is it wrong or right? I don't know in some cases. But when I went to TwitchCon, I saw them get on the stage, and I'm not trying to be overly critical of Twitch. It's a company. But they said, we've hired new people, like basically the morality police, to go around and decide who's naughty or nice. How fucking scary is that?
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue in itself.
Well,
it's made streaming really kind of frightening.
Right. Okay. So that's now you're getting me. It is frightening. Why is it frightening, Austin? Tell me.
Well, it's frightening because every time you conduct a broadcast, you're essentially on thin ice. It's, I've sort of glossed over and read the rules that Twitch has and what the council's intended to do. And it's like, wow, it's very easy to say the wrong thing. And for some people that actually rely on Twitch for their income, their livelihood can be just pulled right under them like that.
So you feel that censorship, and it's vague, right? It feels vague.
I think it depends on what's being censored. That would be my question. Like, what's being censored? Freedom of speech? Like, it's really like there's a degree of censorship that's probably needed in the world, sort of like what Pigeon was talking about, where it was like, okay, these very, very clear and obvious offensive and bad things need to be censored. But
But
you know,
so we know some of those things, right? Certain words. But beyond that, I feel that people who even disagree now are shouted down. What do you think, Pigeon? What do you think of kids, people not being able to speak at colleges?
I don't really know what
Okay,
you're talking about on that one.
Sorry,
'cause-
a big movement for a while was when a person was going to come to a college to give us a talk. The kids on the campus would get the event canceled if they really disagreed with the speaker. Like it would be like the president of Iran or some Alex Jonesy type guy or some racist or whatever it was, and they would make sure they could never appear there. And in fact, to
I
me,
would say that's ridiculous because somebody is going to disagree.
right? What do you think, Pigeon?
But if there's enough people rallying together, don't you think that that's kind of just they're already stuck in their ways enough to not want to learn or educate themselves about something? And you said one of them would be a racist, so why is that really a
Potentially.
bad thing? Like,
Well,
if they have the choice to make and they rally together as a group, as like a school together, and they say they don't want to do it.
what if like you take what if you take like a Jordan Peterson? You know, you take these people, what's it, Ben Shapiro's? These guys are smart, fast talking, you know, they're very intelligent people, but they have points of view that are unpopular. And just for the record, I don't agree with everything they say. You know, and like I said, I consider myself a liberal guy. But even being a liberal guy, I feel pressure that I should automatically fall in line with what everybody says and everybody does, because I feel like Austin does. I feel like I'm on thin ice all the time morally. And I feel like there's this fight of morality. And if you don't fit into it at the right moment, you get kicked out of the club. Now, we're talking about schools. What if somebody came to a school, not just a hate monger? We'll go with a little less example than that. But somebody who had unpopular opinions. Let's say to your school, Austin, he just graduated. Say you like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan wanted to come to speak at your place, your town, whatever. Now, Joe Rogan's reach is like 60 million people with his podcast. He's a big star. He's hated by a lot of liberal people. And he's a very open-minded guy. I really like him. But I don't agree with everything he says. But he's hated because he's had a lot of hateful people on his podcast. And he's also had the Elon Musks. And he says everybody's a very wide range. Because he wants to hear and explore their way of thinking, because he wants to not just like expose it, but he wants to create conversation. So via people not liking the guests that he has sometimes, there's like sometimes a movement to say we don't like Joe Rogan. So what if Joe Rogan was coming to your place of work or town or school to speak, and you'd heard all these bad things about Joe Rogan because he gave a platform to other people? Would you not want Joe Rogan there?
Not me personally, but, you know, I would be happy to have him there. But, you know, I think that his purpose on bringing these people on his show is not to like he's endorsing their, you know, points of view. I think he's just doing it just to have that point of view, have a voice, whether it's right or wrong. You know, because I don't see him agree with everything everybody says.
No, he doesn't
on his podcast.
Well, it depends how high he is, but yeah. Right.
Well, yeah, I guess, but you know, he's respectfully disagreed with tons of people. So, you know, I don't know who specifically was on there that people are upset about or what they said. I don't know, but you know, I think it's more of just you know, what's this point of view like? Because he might not have it, but this other person does. You know,
What do you
that
think?
makes sense.
Pigeon, what do you think?
I wouldn't mind having them there because it's another education point. Having that conversation between the two people, even if it's opposing views, and
Right.
even if he's going to disagree, it's an education point.
Oh, I agree completely. And sometimes even having a hateful person come to your campus, if they're well thought out and they present this and that, maybe it's a way for everybody to talk about how much more they hate them. You know what I'm saying? It's a center point. I'm not talking about bringing a neo-Nazi to your campus. I'm talking about, because what I fear is that morality, which starts off as treat people better, which starts off as Black Lives Matter, but can quickly go to, on the 7th sentence, you said the wrong type of sentence with the wrong exclamation, should have been a question mark. You're a filthy animal, whatever. That's where it goes. It's because it drills down to the minutia. I can give you an example. I had an argument with somebody once, and rest in peace, they're not on my Facebook friends list anymore, right? So, and it was what it was. And I had no problem with this person, but I had seen them argue with other people for years in a very aggressive way. And this person was a very pro-feminism, which I'm pro-feminism, but to a level that was very drilled down. And my friend said, well, should I watch Game of Thrones? And I said, and I don't care what you thought of season 8. I said, yes, you should. I said, it's a masterpiece. Because so much of Game of Thrones to me is a masterpiece in filmmaking, execution. It's amazing. She comes in immediately and says, how can you call it a masterpiece? It's filled with rape and misogyny and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, I thought it was amazing. And I know that they had a scene where the girl was being raped, and they only showed the guy watching who didn't help her, and he was all crying. It says it's rape told through his eyes and his rape culture. Okay, I'm not here to have a conversation about rape and rape culture, but I want to say, I think that when imposed, those points of view, if they get strong enough, would rather shows not do anything outside of just do things exactly as those people would have them written. And you would have the most boring, uninteresting, unrealistic piece of art you've ever seen that created no conversation. And so she got very angry at me. And I said, well, I don't agree with you. She said, just because you love your mom doesn't mean you blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? And everybody who listens to me and knows me, the Jeskid's mom doesn't get involved in any fucking conversation. Bad things happen. So, bye. And I knew this person for a while, and I liked them. But no, that's not a trigger point. My point I'm getting at is, it's scary because once, anybody ever see Handmaid's Tale?
Yes.
Right, brilliant, right? Guy from my class wrote it, helped write some of it. It's amazing. And Handmaid's Tale is when that morality goes too far, because that's a certain sect of morality, right? They believe that what they believe is the truth, and then they push it endlessly, except when they're being hypocritical about it. And they do that drill down to every little minutia is something they control. And I'm criticizing more of the liberal side of these things to be careful, because art is the first thing to suffer. And, just like everybody here has watched porn, right? We don't have to have a long porn conversation, but I'm assuming everybody here has watched porn. I'll do it loud. Austin, have you watched porn? Yes, okay. I'm going to take that as a yes. Let me see. Guys, look at his head. He's shaking his head. Pigeon, have you watched porn? Okay, we're going to get over her.
Don't even look at me
We're not
right
even
now.
looking at her right now. Okay, so we're off of her. But what if in the new morality, people decide that pornography is poisoning people's minds literally, and then all of a sudden, porn should be censored?
People would be out of their jobs.
Right, a lot of people would be out of their jobs. They would get cancel cultured. Is canceling porn a bad thing?
Yes. I'm so sad we had to go down this road, but
Okay, but it's not to embarrass
We
you.
could have made a lot of selections of an example to use here.
Yeah, but I didn't see you fucking doing it, so I just get dinged for you both.
It was too late, man.
Too late?
We were already committed to.
You're down the porn tube?
Yeah.
You went down the porn tube together? Was it looped? Right. Now, some places
Oh my God.
I've lost Broken Pigeon. I was just kidding. Some places might say that what you're saying, because there's a woman in the room, it's misogynistic. You're making her uncomfortable. Right? And I don't think I'm making her uncomfortable. She's laughing. That's good. That's good. That's a laughter. On record. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, he's crying. Okay, we'll get off of him. Okay, we have a camera here. We switch it if you listen to Spotify, whatever. So that's what that I'm reacting to their actual faces. So some people might say, though, because there's a woman in the room, I'm being misogynistic, I'm putting her on a spot, blah, 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 whatever it is. Boa in my chat room said, I am uncomfortable. That's because you don't have enough lube for the conversation. So my point is that, where was I going with this? My point is that some people would judge me for making that joke. And then somebody could report that joke. And because there's a new morality, because censorship is, maybe we're right in the middle of the Me Too movement. Right? We're back up.
Yeah.
We're going back 3 years in time. Now, some of that is still here. And when the BLM loses momentum, that's going to gain steam again. And the firing of James Gunn because he made a movie, blah, blah, blah. All these things are dangerous because they set the example that if you do things that are risky in any way, shape, or form, and that morality shifts against you, then you don't get to, not only will people shame you, you will have your livelihood taken away. And what is a livelihood, right? Well, you got to pay rent and fucking eat. So imagine, now don't get me wrong, Logan Paul, that guy, whatever the fucking guy his name is, fuck him, Jesus. Fuck you, dude. If you're out there, fuck you. I don't care. I usually don't say shit like that. I don't badmouth other creators.
Disrespectful.
But you get to that level of YouTube, right? And you're actually basically a spokesman for that at that point. You have to recognize it. It is a job for them at that level. And you have to see yourself at that level of the public eye. By the way, Rubber Band Man in the chat room said, conversation lube is called alcohol. That's very smart. It's true. It's factual. But these guys they violate, just morality laws. In my eyes, they're very disrespectful. And they turn off people. And you basically, at that point, you work for YouTube at that level. They're putting on commercials. They're pushing your content. But I feel, and maybe that's censorship too, and sometimes they just demonetize them, which is a way to take a livelihood, and then they still run ads on them. It's all fucking hypocritical. Basically, corporations, when they do this, often do it just to save eyeballs and to keep everybody invested in everything. Now, Sacha Baron Cohen recently said, maybe a year or two ago, that allowing Trump free access to Twitter and this is not political. This is talking about speech now. I'm not talking about Trump. I've already expressed what I think of Trump. But taking away his right to, and not allowing him to just speak freely is basically like allowing the Nazis to hand out propaganda. And I don't agree with that. I don't like Trump. I don't like what he has to say. But I feel like these new mediums, which have different control points, shouldn't restrict it. I don't think they should have fucking banned Plandemic. Put a little note on the side of it with actual facts. But why, if you're creating a platform, it's called YouTube. Your tube. Not your lube. See, I went back to that. Couldn't help myself. But it's called YouTube. Right? But it's not your tube. It's their tube. And I'm not, listen, I have nothing against YouTube. It's a great platform. They've done a lot of things for a lot of creators. But I'm scared of where this social media stuff. For them to have removed my video, I'm just, who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm a guy, in my apartment, hanging out with people.
Yeah.
So, what does this make you feel, Pigeon? What does this make you think about where it can go?
Well, like you said, it could go really dangerous ways if they push censorship too far in certain areas. But like I said, there is still good places for censorship to be.
Like where?
Like on severely gory videos or like just severe hate speech. Like, I want to lynch this person.
Oh, of course. But that's an actual threat.
Yeah.
Right? So I agree with that. And that's criminal. But do you think that there should be a very clear set of rules so that people know what those things are? This is the tricky question. Austin, feel free to
Isn't
pipe in
that
too.
what the terms of service are? Like,
It's very,
that's-
like unclear. All of them.
Are we saying like there needs to be a line drawn, like a clear line drawn here, like where it becomes too much?
Sure. How do you know?
Yeah,
So what
man.
they do is like, my podcast, everything I've done, a lot of people could look at me and say immediately, no good. According to those rules, almost all of us are in violation of those rules. When you stream, when I sit here and I have sound effects, suck my balls. Suck
Right.
my balls.
Right.
Okay, I said suck my balls. I just hit a button on my thing. I've got it programmed. Right? Austin's laughing at suck my balls. See, there you go. It's good. Let's get that laugh. Okay. I see
It's
what I
hard, it's hard not to laugh at that. It's just so random.
It
It's
is
a good
random.
one.
Thank you. She likes it. But some people might say, I'm eliciting somebody to suck my balls. Am I against the terms of service because you could take that literal? It's just a figure of speech. Suck my balls does not mean suck my balls. It just means, I don't know, suck my balls. It's different. Suck my balls. So tell me, right? But somebody pushing that button, right, could say that he is violating terms of service, that he is not adhering to the moral codes that we've set up when it's not clear. Bubby just said private industries should be allowed to regulate what they allow on their platform. Interesting point. Interesting. The censorship that is scary is the stuff that the government enforced. The term hate speech is this amorphous spectra of a term that seems to be impossible to avoid depending on where you're speaking. That is fascinating.
I was getting ready to say that's a very, very good take.
I agree. So you think, and my issue here was with private companies that just basically bend and fold to the public's will, right? Or whatever current movement they're on. And you can get caught in a tidal wave of that. Your thing is when it comes from the government saying this is hate speech, this is not hate speech. Because he is making a point. The government has a lot more recourse and ability to enforce that when they make the determination of what is and what isn't appropriate. And Bubby's very anti-government, just for the record. He doesn't like Republicans, Democrats, none of it. He's not an independent. He just, I don't like it. That's his usual point of view. So that's fascinating. So, but in Nazi Germany, they do not allow swastikas. Any Nazi memorabilia is illegal in Germany because they don't want to glorify it in any way and they want it to be gone. And they've apologized for it many times and they've come to terms with it. What do you think of that, Broken? Nazi Germany, not good, bad, but Nazi Germany, like...
I mean, that's their decision. They recognize that it's something severely horrible with their history, and they want to erase it, and they've apologized about it. So that's their choice as a country.
That's right. Now, what if...
I mean, that
Okay.
whole thing is horrific. So, I mean,
Well,
why would you want to promote something like that?
We're doing the same thing right now. Like, we're trying to remove certain names from fountains and statues, and we're taking statues down that are in direct, like, violation, basically, of a person of color or a black person's right to feel safe in America.
Listen, I agree with you completely. I'm against... But then that moves from... Remember we talked about it goes from a very specific thing to a carpet bomb approach. So we're going to move from this person to that person, right? Then we're going to get Columbus. Okay. He actually landed on the islands. He didn't discover shit. You can't discover a place that's already there, you dumb fuck. And you never even came to America. And you are a piece of shit human being. So fuck you, Columbus.
We should get rid of Columbus Day.
Fuck Columbus. I'm not here to argue. I'm not Italian, so I can't fight for it. It's
I'm
not
not
my
Italian.
it's not my fucking flag to die on or whatever, the hill to die on. But then you go from then. Then you say, okay, well, which founding father had slaves? Okay, do we hate them all? Are we gonna take them all off our money? Oh, so when see where it goes? Like that's my point. Is like it's a slippery slope. So if we hate the Hamiltons and this person had slaves, but then they only had slaves for 20 years and then they freed them all, right? Or they had it their whole life and then they renounced it, but they had it their life before that. So who is making the moral decisions on these things? And then somebody wants to talk about Hamilton in a classroom or show the play, because even that's under fire now. A play about, I didn't see it yet. Forgive me. I'm going to watch it. Right? But I'm going to play about, Jess doesn't know what he's talking about. Insert here. Right? that historical figure from a very unique perspective, I know this, could wind up getting censored. I read a thing the other day in a Facebook group I was invited to, which I read sometimes. So if you're out there, you know I read it anyway. And I saw a post, and it said, "We need to start talking about Back to the Future." Banning Back to the Future, basically. Should it reach the list of things that should get gone because of the way Back to the Future deals with Libyans as terrorists in the beginning of Back to the Future. And I'm like,
I haven't seen that movie in a really long time.
bro, you need to get to that.
Rewatch that.
Get to that. It's really good. So I say don't ban it, but look at it in the context of when it was made. But my point is that even the conversation is being had to get that fucking thing. And we need to look at that and re-examine retroactively.
Didn't that movie have like hoverboards in 2020? Like,
yeah, it kind of did. It's kind of amazing. You should watch
it. Yeah, they
it.
were way off base. 2020 sucks.
Yeah, they were really off topic, right? But my point is that like that's where that goes. So when people start to take lists, they got rid of Gone with the Wind off of HBO. Okay, it doesn't represent them in a private company. They do what they want. Now, whether you think it's this or that, racist or not racist, had a stereotype in it or not stereotype in it, dated or not dated, your desire to get rid of it is frightening. Because there are 99.9 things in these things that are good. But you're going to take that one because you don't like that fucking morsel. You want to get it censored. Are we going to get rid of 16 Candles? You ever seen 16 Candles, Pigeon?
Yes, or Blazing Saddles.
Oh, Blazing Saddles. To get rid of Blazing Saddles would be horrific. We talked about this last week on the podcast.
Extremely sad.
Right.
But
Crazy.
it's based in a satirical sense. It's supposed to bring light.
It's commentary. Yes. Yes. Hello. Now we're in the conversation. I woke you guys the fuck up. I like it. I like it. We're there. We reached it. Right? It's art. It's art with commentary that is before its time. But because it contains stereotypes that people don't like, that it uses to achieve its goal, people want to get rid of it. Censors want to say, no, you can't do that. And by the way, you can't think this and you can't think that. And as an artist, I fucking object. I object with every part of my soul. My job is to create conversation. If I say something outlandish in the pursuit of something artistic, that's not meant to incite violence, that's not meant to incite hate on another person, and that creates conversation, even if it's an opposing point of view, that should be allowed to have a platform via private industry or via government. I believe that wholeheartedly, and anyone that doesn't is going to wind up at a book-burning fucking party, or a movie banning, or a TV show, or a pornography killing, or whatever your deal is. It will be gone if you're not careful. Let's go to the chat room, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to the chat room. This is a section where we go to chat room. This section has never existed before. I'm just doing this for effect. Okay, the chat room says, abusive or threatening speeches, Boa, or writing that expresses prejudice against a particular group, especially on the basis of race, religion, or sexual orientation. I'm not sure you're saying that should be banned. Go to blah, blah, blah. Okay. Bubby said, abusive, threatening, and prejudice, quotes, is exactly what I'm referring to. It's super subjective. It completely circumvents analysis of intent and circumstances. Yes. Yes, Bubby. Bubby wins the prize, ladies and gentlemen.
See, that's what I've been trying to say to you, but Bubby actually has the intelligence to put it into words.
You have the intelligence. You just
don't have the vocabulary.
You don't have the time. Because you're 21 years old, and that's why you're here today. Because, you have a perspective of somebody who's younger, and that's just as valuable as somebody who's taken many years to form those thoughts. Because you have the ideas, and you're communicating them, but you're just communicating in a way that's insightful to me as well. Don't forget that. And same thing to my 25-year-old friend above you. Okay, so this is
27, Jesse.
Bro, I'm trying to fucking help you out in advance. So when you're 52, I'm like, oh, he's 50. You'll be like, thanks, Jess. But now you're like, oh, no, I'm a grown-up. All right.
How have I been friends with this guy for like 2 years and he still doesn't know how old I am?
Because I don't really like you. No, I really do like you.
Yeah.
You should censor that. Censored.
Can we censor that?
I just censored myself. I said bad things. Okay, my point is to Bubby. Yes, because when you start taking out of the equation intent, and you remove nuance, and you impose censorship, what you're left with is something that's bland and controllable and kills conversation. That's what I believe. Okay. Bubby said, I won't speak ill of anyone for 3 reasons, but suppression of abhorrent ideas can lead to feelings of martyrdom, and then you get homegrown terrorists out there. I agree. When people feel like they don't have a place to go speak, they make their own place. And once those people are removed from the pack, you think, yay, they're gone. No, they're not. They're still your neighbors. They're just putting on white hoods and going out in the middle of the night or whatever have you. And they've hidden it. Isn't it better to have all these people in plain sight? Don't you want to know who the fucking nut jobs are out there? I do. I'm glad Donald Trump tells me who he is all the time. I know. I'm not glad he's my president, but I know at least. It's fact. Like, he tells me. Now, some people hated like Obama, or they hate other people, politicians, because they assume behind closed door they're evil people. And I can't say they are or they're not, because I don't know them behind closed doors. So I'd rather know up front who you are. But we don't want to take the time to learn that. We'd rather just say, no, that slightly offends me. That slightly makes me uncomfortable. Okay, here's another one for you. And Broken, you're not the young, I'm not putting a bullseye at you and be like, you're the young person, I'm not give a shit. But I'm saying, like, if something makes you uncomfortable, right? And you're very uncomfortable by it, do you think it should be banned?
No.
Do you feel like if it's not a safe space for you, you should just go find another space?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear, because some people feel like the safe space is changed. No, I'm asking. I know the answer to this, but some people feel like the space itself has to be changed to make them comfortable. And then what happens is you have 10 million points of view on what that space should look like. All subjective. And that's what censorship does, is somebody gets their finger on the fucking button and starts making the decisions for 9,900,000. That's a big number. I'm not going to say all the nines. Except for them, and they're making that decision. And the morality may shift, but that, you can see it all the time. They're still in power. Okay, let's go to the chat room. Won't spill, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, you're out of diapers. I don't know what that means.
It was talking
You're talking about
how old
propaganda
Redneck
and what you're
was.
left with. Ironically, fucks. Dan said, ironically, fuck censorship. He's British. He would know. I don't know what that means. Don't censor me. Secret, no space exists. Yes, Bo was saying secret. Here's the secret: no safe space exists. So my point of this thing today was to say, I've been railing on this about for a while. I think we are going down a very dangerous path. I don't mind sensitivity. I don't mind consideration. I don't mind getting rid of things that are obviously hateful or filled with bad intent. But when we start making blanket rules for conversation itself, be it through government or be it through a private company which controls conversation for most people nowadays, I think that we're on a path that many people may regret. And that doesn't mean that I'm supporting the same point being uttered by the right, because I think that as much as the left is trying to control conversation, I think the right is doing the exact same thing. They're also trying to sue people into the ground and shut them up and say, you can't make parody about this, and how dare you make fun of me. And, you know, like, they're doing the exact same thing. What you're witnessing is our culture from a government and even corporate perspective trying to shut us up. And they don't want us to talk. They don't want to have real moments where somebody has a conversation with their father who maybe carries some prejudice from their past. You know, they just want to wag their finger at the father and get rid of them. And I'm not talking about somebody who does something so abhorrent that their job shouldn't find out. I'm talking about somebody who just doesn't know, is too ignorant to know, you know? And we're very quick to blast the bad guy, you know? Like, and I've said this too, and I made a public apology. Not even apology. It's not the right word. Broken, I think you were here on the stream. where I talk about some of the outrageous things I've said, not said, and I own them.
It
Because
was an acknowledgement.
yeah, you can't apologize for something that's in your past completely if you directly hurt somebody, you apologize to them. And anytime I've ever known about and directly hurt somebody, I'm profusely sorry and profusely want to hear how it harmed them and what I can do about it, if anything. So it's not about that, but it is about growing and learning and evolving and changing and, and being the best you can be. But retroactive shaming falls under censorship as well, right? And I'm not here to be like, hey, everybody, I committed a hate crime 17 times in the year 1982. I was fucking like 7 years old or some shit. It wasn't happening. I waited till I was 14. That's a joke. Just kidding. So that was a racy joke. Look at me. I'm doing things. Mom, are you proud of me?
The stream just cuts off.
So my point is that it is good to try to be the best person you can be, but you should not have to live your life on thin ice. You should be kind and considerate and sensitive to other people's needs, wants, different ways of life, different approaches, different ideas, even different political agendas. But you should never be afraid to have a conversation. And we're killing conversation. We think we're having more, we're having a lot less. We're shouting each other down. We're censoring each other. If Austin were to come in here today and completely disagree with something that I had to say, I wouldn't shout him down. I may talk a lot. I've been known to do that. How dare you? Don't laugh at that. I'm going to put you on camera for that. There you go. Look at that laugh.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Both of you. I hate you both. So secretly. But now let's argue about it. I hate you.
I hate you too, Jess. That's why I come to your stream.
You're censored.
every day.
Can't say that. Oh, you said it. God damn it. I missed the button. Okay, let's go to shower. A ton of why Dan says you advance conversations by tackling different topics. Absolutely. And sometimes that's growth. How do we expect other people to grow along with our new way of thinking if we won't talk to them about what we disagree with about their way of thinking? If we censor them out of it, we shout them down. We can't. So I don't agree with that. Dan said, if you make people fearful to talk, you stifle growth. Agreed. Absolutely. If you extrapolate it out, censorship narrows acceptable viewpoints. I love how I have a voice. That's like my reader voice. Like, so you know when I'm reading somebody else's shit and you know when I'm just talking. Now you know I'm just talking. That's not what he said. I'll get back to it. I'm going to go to my reader voice. Hold on.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Jess.
If you extrapolate it out, censorship narrows acceptable viewpoints. And yet we live in a world that cries out for acceptance of diversity in a number of areas. You're right. If you want to be accepted, you better be ready to accept the hateful people next to you. You know what I really thought was kind of interesting was in Rwanda when they killed all those people and they had the genocide, they did trials in each village. But they had to have hard conversations with neighbors who were involved in this. And those conversations were necessary because they all still live next to each other. Once you start closing yourself off from other people, all of that goes to shit. Anyway, and that was about as horrible as you get. Boa said, oh my God, we're not going to go with that. Oh yeah. So, I'm not even going to comment on that because the whole nother, we're going to go, hold on. I can censor myself. That's my fucking choice. Okay?
God.
But like, I should not be afraid that something I say now in this podcast, that 10 years from now, he said a thing. I shouldn't be afraid because I change my mind all the fucking time. Tomorrow I may regret everything I said here today and think about it. That's what causes me to evolve, is I think about the things that I talk about. I feel like we're living in a world that's trying to force people into very current movements and moralities quickly. COVID.
Disgusting.
COVID.
But bless you.
COVID.
That right into the mic. You sneezed all over your mic.
Well,
man.
don't come use this mic because you may get it.
I want to Lysol it through the camera. Just
Okay, well, I'm offended because you're assuming that I have a disease, and that's offensive to
no,
me.
but that's nasty that you just got all your mucus all over your microphone.
No, it's pronounced mucus. It's French in my house.
Mucus.
It's a painting. It's Jeskidding. Somebody said, I'm evolving. My point, you get the point what I'm getting at. Fucking censorship is dangerous. It's fucking dangerous. It really is. And I just want to, as somebody, 2 people younger than me and people in the chat room, just recognize it. Like, if somebody says something you don't like, right? It's okay. You know, you don't have to fucking, unless it's like something that we've written in stone, the N-word at this point, we're kind of saying no more. Right? Except unless you have permission to use it. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm not going to touch that one.
We don't want to start that one with exactly how
because I'm scared.
Paper printer white we are.
Yeah, because I'm scared of the ramifications for my whiteness hitting me in the face because I'm frightened that I'll say the wrong fucking thing. And should I be frightened? I'm just being considerate because I know, and like Pigeon said very smartly, I don't have the right point of view, right, for that, to make that conversation because I've never lived that. But beyond those obvious things, right, I think anything goes unless you're inciting fucking violence against people. That's what I think. By the way, those that are listening on Spotify, they've now clipped my sneeze, meaning that it will be replayed over and over. Right?
I knew that you saw it when you, like, I saw your eyes go down and then you made that face.
I secretly, not so secretly, hate you both right now. I hate you both, and I'm sorry I did this podcast with you at all. Censor that, bitches.
Those are called bloopers, Jesse.
There are bloopers. I like, but I could censor those. I could go and be like, no, you can't say that about me. I like them. I like conversation. I like the fact that we're all here together. I like the fact that we're talking about things. I like the fact that I've said things in the chat room to other people that have made them uncomfortable, not just you, Pigeon, everybody, right? I think that what you've said, literally on camera, I'm uncomfortable right now, right? You've literally expressed it, not to me, maybe. You'll actually do. That's like a catchphrase of yours. But maybe you are, maybe you're not. But at least we can have a conversation about it.
Yes.
And you know my intent.
I honestly love when Broken Pigeon gets put on the spot.
Why is that? Why is that? Why do you like it?
I don't, because I'm just...
She just like makes like awkward like movements and like faces, and she's like, Hey, this is a PG podcast.
She just put her fingers up on my podcast. It was a PG podcast, and she is now censored. You're censored.
You could ask, this is a mature pod, like, stream.
I don't know why I like a mature... Why? No, oh my God. Why mature... Right? I feel like when you say it's a mature stream, I literally think I'm going to come in and there's going to be like a 78-year-old, old man naked, right? It's a mature stream. It's mature. It's very mature.
Some lemon party shit going on.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be just like, it's going to be all about that, dangly balls, like really dangly.
Stop, please. Next subject.
Right. Am I making you uncomfortable?
I'm not uncomfortable. I'm just 100% done with this subject.
Okay. She's censoring me, Austin. I'm being censored. Her morality is censoring me, and I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm very uncomfortable. She's made me uncomfortable. Okay, so I guess this is how else are you going to end the fucking conversation but just by saying
dangly balls?
With dangly balls? No, we're not going to end it with dangly balls.
I thought we were done with that.
Yeah, we were done, and then you brought up the balls. But see, this is what I'm saying is, here's my point of this whole thing. Once we got to a level of comfort in this conversation, everybody opened up. And then even the jokes that earlier on people made them in like, oh, that's not as funny, people started to enjoy it because they could partake in it. It's really, I think that conversation, if it can be, can just be more inclusive than other things. I think that it's when you start excluding things, you start excluding conversations, you can never get to this point of ease that we got to. And that's magic.
I'm sorry, I was watching the clip. That's why magic. I laughed. I just had to make that. I had to watch the clip. I wasn't laughing at what you said, though.
I'm sure you weren't laughing. Anyway, this has been the Jeskidding Podcast. I fucking love you guys. You're the best. I'm so glad that they have not terminated my sermon, like YouTube when they took off my fucking video, right? Which is wrong. I think we can all accept that it was wrong. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
It was genuinely wrong. Yeah.
It was fucked up. And, by the way... for those listening, there's a feature on the forum that I'm on now, which will be permanently in the video. Thank you so much. You fucking assholes. Where you can put little emoticons on the screen, and they fly across the screen and up my nose.
I saw you dodge the first one.
I did dodge it.
I did continue.
Yeah, I dodged it. You know why? Because it's my content, and I'm censoring your dodgy balls. I don't know where I'm going with this.